Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. Today we have a very exciting video and buckle up. Firstly, I just want to preface this video with saying this is all in my own opinion. You are entitled to your own opinion. If you like any of these books, I'm so happy for you. Without sounding sarcastic, I'm so happy for you and I wish I did too. I read all of these because of various people's recommendations and for some reason they just didn't hit. So today we're going to be reading 5-star reviews on my 1-star books. This time around, just to make things a little bit easier for myself, I kind of screenshotted a few reviews and I didn't read them. I tried my best not to read them. However, there are a couple of just short ones that obviously your eyes glance over and I saw them, but still for the majority I didn't read them because the last time I took so much time in between takes just to like scroll through and try to find, and I'm eliminating that. Hope you guys don't mind. Let me know if you prefer it if I just go searching for them live, but I just think it would be easier. So I need to find my screenshots and see which book we begin with. So the first book we have here is Variations, and every single person I've seen read this book absolutely loved it. I downloaded it I think the first day that it was released because it was free on Kindle Unlimited and you got a like voucher so you could get some off, I think $2 off another book, which wasn't why I downloaded it. I was just curious to see what her other writing was like. For me, I gave this, it's not a 1-star, it was a 2-star just because I felt like the story was very convoluted and the conflict was solved way too easily in my opinion, and I feel like with what happened, like this should have been more of a fight because like I said, it was convoluted. But this is our first 5-star review. It says, I fell in love with her all over again. Not the quiet, observant girl she'd been or the friend I'd let down, but the woman she's grown into, beautiful and strong, God, and still laughing. I loved every minute of this. So that's just a little quote from the book. She put 5 stars with an extra star and 2.5 chilies. The literary romance in this book was stunning. My highlighter ran out of ink. This was given the Notebook vibes and I eat it up. Friends to enemies to lovers, fake dating, one bed, summer romance, found family, beautiful, 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 my top contemporary romance of the year. So I agree that all those things were added in, but why do we have so many tropes? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tropes. 5 tropes. Like that's convoluted. Like how do you just jump from one trope to the next trope to the next trope to the next trope? It's just like some other authors who throw a bunch of tropes at a wall and see what sticks. For me, that just doesn't work. It makes it feel convoluted and like not true. Like I feel like that could never really happen. And when I read romance, I want something that's more close to real life. I don't like make-believe romance. Like I've outgrown that. I'm 35 years old, almost 36 in a couple of weeks. Like for me, that just doesn't work because it's not real life. And I think it gives girls a false sense of what a relationship is supposed to be like, because relationships are work. They're hard work and it's not all flowers and roses. And yes, there was conflict in this book and yes, there was trauma in this book, but I feel like it was dealt with too light in my opinion. Actually, I just read a 1-star, which I completely agree with, but I'm not going to read it to you. Someone else said, no notes, I loved it. Obsessed with Hudson and Alley. Such a good story. There were some twists and turns and overall I enjoyed it. So that feels like the reading isn't actually, the rating isn't actually that sincere because overall I enjoyed it, but not ultimately. Like that just puts a negative connotation. Like maybe she actually rated her 4.5 or something like that. So I don't have anything real to say about that. I don't know what this means, but it says 2.68 is wild for a book that hasn't been released yet. She doesn't deserve this. Oh, 2.68 was the rating. Maybe, yeah, I was one of them who rated it very lowly. It just didn't feel real. Another one says, I freaking loved this. It's probably one of the best contemporary romance I've ever read this year. Ahali and Hudson were perfection. Again, no notes because that someone else even said, I need some of y'all to take a deep breath and check your entitlement. Excuse me, miss. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion and I have mine and I didn't enjoy it. I listened to it mostly on audio, I must admit that, but still it just, for me, it didn't make sense. Like, but anyway, let's move on to the next book. This is a controversial one. I do have coffee. Please guys, grab a snack and a drink because this is going to be a long one, I think. I do only have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 books in this because the last time it went on for too long and I'd had so much editing to do. So the next book, controversial, Happy Place. And unfortunately, the first time I read it, I gave it a 3-star. The second time I read it, I DNF'd it. And then I picked it up again and I gave it a 2-star. I tried to listen on audio and the audio was much better than actually reading this insufferable long book. But this is all in my opinion, like I said. This is a very long one, so excuse me if I sound robotic when I read it. It says, okay, this one's actually, I just read some of it and it's gone really deep. So sorry if I offend anybody by this, but this book wasn't my favorite. I found the female character really insufferable and the main male character was really, really like meh, like didn't really bring anything to the table. Anyway, some of this actually doesn't make sense to me, but it says, the Bridge of Archer. They see right through me. Can you see right through me? I see right through me. Encapsulates this book perfectly. Okay. The loneliness, the bargaining with the universe, being loved and loving people, the fear of growing up, the fear of possibility of never being happy, the perpetual struggle between living for yourself and the people you love, the terror of being in an unhappy place to the people who love, the fear of a job or something so permanent in your life that being the wrong choice, everything around you changing, the nostalgia for moments you never get. Harriet and I mirror each other in so many ways, and reading it in words across a book made me feel so seen and comforted. This book is for the girls who worry and worry and worry if they're good enough, worry if they're achieved enough, worry if they're enough, worry if they love people too much, worry if they love people too little, worry if they're a catalyst for something bad that happens, worry if they're too temporary or maybe too permanent, who has nostalgic happy moments on a loop in their head, who feels the loneliness more with people around them than when they're alone. Okay, that's very deep. I didn't get that from this book. Personally, I found Harriet was whiny. Like, she's in her 30s, she's practicing medicine. Like, I understand that a breakup is hard, and sometimes when things are not like dealt with properly, you don't get closure, and then seeing them it's nerve-wracking. Obviously you get anxious, but she was just whiny about it, and it was mostly internal monologue because she was hiding the fact that they had broken up from everybody, because either she was embarrassed or she was scared of losing her friends. But why so much thought into it? Like, I know breakups are hard, I've had many in my life, but this was just insufferable. And I read for escapism. I don't read to read other people. I don't read to read about other people's misery and how they deal with everyday life. I'm dealing with life, so unfortunately this wasn't fun for me, and it was boring because we've all gone through heartbreak and dealt with it and have our own coping mechanisms, and I feel personally that this didn't bring anything to the table. This is another one. If we're being real, I finished this book like a week ago. I've just been unable to articulate the extreme love I have for it. Well, after a week of reading it, I couldn't articulate how much I didn't like it either. Emily Henry wrote this for the Right Where You Left Me, Champagne Problems, The Archer Girlies, me, and she will be receiving my therapy bill. Mine too, because I was bored out of my mind. This one says, Emily Henry is behind my impossible romantic standards. It's true. That's exactly my problem with romance books. Now you have impossibly high standards. For what reason? For what reason? Like, yes, you can have a romance in your head, but come on, let's be realistic. Let's be realistic. People are flawed, and that's okay. That's okay. No one is perfect, and you're never gonna find someone perfect. Oof, I don't know why I'm getting so heated about this. Okay, the last one. How does one write a 5-star review for Happy Place and hold back on unleashing a full-on gush fest? I'm obsessed with this book. I could not help but find myself so invested in the relationship. It's broken and flawed, but I was rooting for them the whole time to find their way back to each other, sort their things out, figure it out. My heart. The friendship group was so fun to follow, and seeing how they supported each other was beautiful. They all bring their flaws to the table without the fear of being judged, because they have trust that everyone will accept them regardless. That doesn't mean they're perfect, but they put in the work to keep their friendship in a solid place. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. All the stars, all of them, have all of them. I beg to differ. Her friendship group wasn't that great. It wasn't that great. And they hid so many secrets from each other. Like, I know if anything happens to me, my best friend is the first person, okay, my husband. After my husband, my best friend is the first person who's going to know what's happened to me. Whether it's good, whether it's bad, we share things. That's what friendship is about. But all of them have a secret. Every single one of them are hiding something from each other. So you can't tell me that's a good friendship. They've had to force and coerce each other to be in the same place. That's not a good friendship. They were bribed and, manipulated and blackmailed into coming to one place place just to all spend the summer together, that is not a good friendship. So I don't know where people are reading. Maybe I'm just reading between the lines, but I found it insufferable. Actually, we have 6 books on here. I was mistaken and my battery's dying, so we might have to do this in 2 parts. So next book, Ninth House. Again, another controversial one. So many people love it, so many people hate it. I didn't like it for the main aspect being academia. Half the time I had to research words that were in it. Like I couldn't just enjoy it and have an immersive read. Like it was hard to get into. And I read a couple of reviews with people who felt the same way as me. So this took me over a month to read. It's not even that long, but it just didn't hit for me personally. And I've come to realize I actually really love dark academia, but I like more of like the gothic elements and not the actual academia, because I'm not really an academic, am I? So let's start. I am honestly astonished by what Leigh Bardugo achieved in this book. The story is masterful and powerful and immersive in a way that I can't even begin to describe. Already disagree. Definitely not immersive. And Alex Stern, oh my god, Alex Stern. Reading her character, it made me feel strong. Almost like the words on the page were forming a suit of armor around me as I read. I love this book and I can't wait to read it again. Ninth House is a story about women refusing to shut up or be compliant. It is a story about survivors for survivors. It is honest and complex, and despite some of the darkness, hopefully and even funny at times, it is a story full of life. I like the parts with Alex as well, but she was not an academic. She's a recovering drug addict. She was thrown into this position because she needed money. I like that part. It was everything else that was just a little bit, what is the word? Pretentious? It was so pretentious. Like, I understand that she's at one of the best institutions in the world, but still, she could see ghosts, cool, but everything else, I just found it very hard to like follow the storyline. It was hard to grasp. Like I didn't get it. Even some parts I felt were written in third person and the others in first, and then there's a little bit of dialogue, but a lot of the times it was her in a monologue. She didn't like trust herself enough either, and it didn't make me feel immersed in the story. It actually threw me out. Yeah, another one. It's a long one again. An absolute brilliant read. I found myself completely taken by the blend of examining social issues and well-realized occult themes. This was my first read for Leigh Bardugo, and it has absolutely convinced me to read more from her in the future. Ninth House is flat out brilliant. There is a reason Stephen King called it one of the best fantasy books he has read in recent years. Best fantasies I've ever read in years, King. The main protagonist is well-realized and motivated. The world is our own, but twisted enough to draw out a dark fascination with any reader. You must know just how deep these dark elements go. How will the mystery play out? These elements come together to become one of the most addicting reads for the year. I think this was someone who got an ARC or something, because they attached a link to their YouTube video as well. So they're trying to sell themselves. I don't know. Like I said, everybody has their own opinion, and I just didn't feel clever enough to understand this book. Honestly, that's the crux of it. And it's not that I'm not clever. I'm not dumb. I love reading and I've passed school and stuff, but it just, yeah, I didn't get it. Just looking at it now, I'm like, I don't understand. And like the words used in it, it just didn't make sense to me, and it wasn't immersive. I'm going to read one more and then we'll move on. Holy cow. No, it says holy wow. This was something else. Incredible writing. So atmospheric, bloody, gruesome, intense. The ending was rude. I need the next book now. Content warning, and yeah, they give a bunch of content warnings. The ending was all right. I gave it a 2.5 stars. So the ending was okay, and I was very, very tempted to read Hellbent, but I know I'm going to suffer the same thing. Like, I just didn't enjoy the writing style. It's too embellished and it's too verbose, and there's things that I didn't care about that I had to read about to get to the important bits, or the bits that I enjoyed. And for me, that takes away from the enjoyment of the reading experience. Like when I'm having to like skip pages because I don't care about those details. I want to move on with our character, you know? So no, just no. The next one I don't have physically with me. It is Crossed by Emily McIntyre. And this one I again DNF. I got to page 80 and just the content wasn't for me. I recently DNF'd a book for the exact same reason. When religion comes into a book, I have my own beliefs, you have your own beliefs. But when it is written in the way that it was, where it kind of disrespects, no matter if it's Christianity or whatever, if it disrespects that religion, I'm not going to read it. Like, I don't go to church every Sunday, I'm not gonna lie. I have my beliefs, yes I do, but any form of it, just disrespecting religion in any way, I can't read it. I can't read it. I just can't bring myself to. I really tried with this book. And in this book, we have a stripper and a priest. I don't know if he's a real priest because I didn't get that far, but he's pining after a stripper, and I couldn't do it. So for me, it was an immediate DNF after page 80. But here's some reviews. This is her second review, and it says, yep, this is still my favorite book of all time. I was worried it wasn't going to hold up, but it does. Good for you. Good for you. Your morals are, never mind, I'm not even gonna say that. And then it says first review. Now this is what I'm talking about. I really wasn't expecting to love this book as much as I did, but my god, blasphemous, I loved every second of it. Seriously, no part of this book I dislike. I just thought it would be a fun little read, and it's probably one of my favorite books. I was super invested in the characters and their relationships and their actions. Even when it wasn't super steamy, I was so engulfed in what was happening. I liked the characters, besides Parker, and how all of their actions seemed fitting for each other, and they were all so well thought out and real. This book had me in a chokehold and really played with my feelings a lot. It made me warm and fuzzy, okay, really sad and angry at some points. I just thought it was awesome. I like the way some of the serious subject matters was handled, and I really felt I never felt half-assed. I know a book is good when I'm super invested in everything that's happening. I haven't had such a reaction when reading a book in a while. I've had a few duds recently, so it's nice to get back to a book that was so good. Okay, they spoke about Parker, and Parker's her stepfather, and he manipulates her and basically tries to sexually assault her. I couldn't read about that either. And then we have a priest who's obsessed with her. Like, okay, but each to their own. Honestly, I'm not gonna yuck anybody's yum, but no, absolutely not. My camera battery is about to die, so let me charge it up and finish my coffee, and we'll get back. Now that my camera is slightly charged, let's finish up this video. So I think we have 2 more books after this, but another one for Crossed by Emily McIntyre. It says My Petite Pécherie, which is like, or Pécherise, which means my little sinner. She's a stripper, he's a sexy priest, and enjoys stalking her. Need I go on? This was so good. Emily's darkest book yet, but it had me on the edge of my seat the entire time. The plot was really well done. I loved all the twists and turns. I especially loved how Amaya and Kate developed as a couple and as individual characters. It was quite the ride. Also, yes, the smut was incredibly hot, obviously. See, so she's a stripper, he's a sexy priest. Come on, I can't. I personally can't, and that's a personal opinion. Like I said, I don't want to yuck anyone's yum. You do you, but for me, I had to draw the line somewhere. Like my own thoughts just couldn't go there, and yeah, for me it gave me the ick. Another one says 4 + 4 ? And I don't know what that means. And then this has to be, in my opinion, the darkest, most disturbed book in the series yet. Oh, and the slow burn. It was slowing. Cool. I don't even know what to say about that. But like I said, each to their own. You're allowed to like what you like, but for me, it just no, thank you. So the second last book we have here is The American Roommate Experiment. I actually got this recommendation from Ali Goodwin, which is a YouTuber as well. I took it from her, got it from the library. Thank goodness I didn't waste my money on it, but boy, did I have a rough time reading this book. It gave me really, really bad secondhand embarrassment, and it was just cheesy. So cheesy that no, the storyline was also super inconsistent. Like they would give a detail and then take it back, and I'll be like, wait, what? And then I have to flick back a couple of pages, make sure I read that correctly, and I was just like, what the hell is going on here? And I was so bored, so cringy. Like, every time I read it, I was like, this is gonna put me in a slump. So I just ended up DNFing it. But I think I DNF'd it at 120 pages if I'm not mistaken. So this is Ali's review on it. Really loved this book. Such a fun concept of having to share an apartment with your crush. And I love that Rosie is a romance writer. Love books about people who love books. And Lucas was so sweet. I loved how big his heart was and how much he would do for her. Can't wait to read Elena Armas's next book when it comes out later this year. I don't think he was sweet. He was cheesy. He called her Cronut, or yeah, it was Cronut because she liked Cronut. So he'd call her, no, he didn't call her Cronut. They would, instead of like saying thank you for everything, they made like a deal that says like Cronut for that, or you're so Cronut, or something like that. And I was just like, no, absolutely not. I'm too old for this. But it was boring. And then another review says Lucas Martin's application to be your next favorite book boyfriend. 1, he cooks. A, in nothing but boxes, a pink apron while he dances. cringe. Pick you up cronuts when you crave them. It's giving 5 taco energy. Speaks to you dirty talk in Spanish. Okay. Will read your writing. Cool. Checks in on her elderly neighbor every day. He has separation anxiety from his dog, who is a therapy dog, who we learn once had diarrhea during a sex scene. I didn't get there. There's only one bed, literally written by a woman, and then within the story is written by a woman. Best hugger once said this, not God. He said before retract my opening with his tongue, Lucas. All of that says to me just cringe and cheesy. Cheese for days. Anyway, the last one I have is, I can't put into words how much I love this book. I simply can't. If you need me, I will be locked up in my depression cave room, crying and listening to New Year's Eve on repeat. Goodbye. Okay. I really do wish that I felt that way, but I didn't. I really wanted to like it as well. That's why I kept pushing through, but I just couldn't. It was so cringe. And the secondhand embarrassment just like ate me up, and I can't even put into words. So let's get into the last book. So this video isn't like 30 hours long. The last book, One Dark Window. Again, I was so excited for this. I asked my brother for it for my birthday last year, and I was so disappointed. I'm not even going to read the second book just because I really didn't like it. I just felt like it was lacking in a lot of like details. Like they were really big on describing the scene and the atmosphere, but the actual characters, we didn't get enough of them, and like their day-to-day things. Like I like to know things like that in a book, and I felt like this didn't give us enough. Like they don't even like eat. Like I hate it when they do that in a book where it's like them not even eating, and I'm thinking, when do they use the toilet? When do they shower? When do they bathe? Like nothing like that was described in this book, and I just felt like it wasn't like a complete story in my opinion when it lacks all of those things. So anyway, the second time I read this, I tried to do a reread of books I didn't enjoy, which I will never do that again. That was painstaking, I'm not gonna lie, and I ended up DNFing this. I couldn't do it the second time around. I was just like, you know that feeling where you're like so impatient and then you try to skim and you're just like, it's not computing. It's just not. So some 5-star reviews on this. I was so worried going into this. The synopsis sounded so interesting, but it's compared to Uprooted and For the Wolf, both of which I rated 2 stars. So I really didn't know if I was going to enjoy this, but I'm so glad I decided to give it a try anyway, because like the synopsis suggests, this is indeed a really interesting story. I love the concept of province cards, the way the magic in this world works, the main mission quest, the mystery of the mist tied into the local folklore and legend. I also found all of the characters to be quite developed and enjoyed how they interacted with each other. The world, the magic, particularly Elspeth and the Nightmare and Elspeth and Raven. This is definitely a book that once it ended, I wanted to grab the sequel and read immediately. So I have high hopes for, and I'm looking forward to seeing how the story progresses. I disagree. I didn't like Elspeth and the Nightmare. I found it really, really childish. All the riddles in here as well was like written for a kindergartner. Like, and some of it didn't even make sense. Like, you know, when you're reading and you find a word that misplaced in a sentence and your eyes stumble across it, and then you have to reread the sentence to actually make like sense of it. But all the riddles and quotes, poems, they just didn't make sense. They didn't flow. They didn't rhyme. Like, it just didn't make sense. Like, I don't understand it. The provenance cards were spoken about, but we don't know much about them, who possesses them, how you possess them. Like, all of that was just so lacking. And then the romance as well, like nothing really happened. Like, whenever either of them had like an inkling of a feeling, it was just like dismissed. Like, I just felt like it wasn't delved into enough. And the mist was spoken about immensely, but we don't really even understand the concept of the mist. Like, yeah, it's making people sick and the plague and whatever, but is it really a bad thing? Like, I don't understand. Maybe I need to read the next book to understand, but it just didn't make sense in my opinion. So yeah. Next one says, there's just like some ticks over here, like listing of things. So gothic fantasy fiction, dark fantasy, alluring monsters, romantic fantasy, beautifully lush prose, disagree, and author's debut. Trees. I love this book. Yeah. Instead of saying like, oh my gosh, they say, oh my trees. Like, trees was like their god or something like that. Like, you know, in fantasy book where they say, oh gods, like this was trees. Like, yeah. This book had no business rivaling the love for my favorite fantasy, Six of Crows, obviously. I've read this year. I loved everything about it. The storytelling was like nothing I've ever read before. It's so exciting and engaging. If it isn't obvious, I'm completely obsessed with the characters. I love it when when every character gives and no MCs are lacking in their roles as MCs. Okay. Not gonna lie, for an adult gothic fantasy, it does read like a YA, but when a book is this good, that fact is barely significant. The dark gothic fantasy atmosphere, dark magic, creepy woods, fog, mists, and tarot cards with potential monsters vibes were just immaculate. Okay, so firstly, it was a YA. There was nothing adult about this. They didn't kiss, they didn't touch, and she's only like 19. It was definitely a YA. It wasn't an adult fantasy, because then we would have got a little smart for sure. The part that she was saying about the dark gothic fantasy atmosphere, there was a dark atmosphere, but it wasn't gothic in my opinion. There was dark magic, but that was the actual mist. Creepy trees, creepy woods, yeah, because the mist lives there. And the tarot cards, like I said, we're glazed over. They were completely glazed over. We didn't know how you, like I said, how you get possession of them or anything like that. Just the whole politics of it all was not explained enough for me. And that's why I think it was written for a younger audience. And then the last one we'll read says, it's a long one again. Trees, it starts with again, roll my eyes. This was a good book. One Dark Window is set in the wonderfully dark and gothic town of Blunder that is cut off from the rest of the world because of the mist that keeps the townspeople trapped and threatened with dark magic. Anyone infected with the magic is believed to be evil or dangerous and is sentenced to death. Elspeth has hidden her infection since childhood, not letting anyone know that she lives with another inside her own mind. But when she meets a mysterious highwayman who holds his own secrets, there's no this is written really badly. There's like no grammar in here at all. Anyway, she must risk her own safety to work together to find a possible cure to the dark magic and save herself and everyone else. This world and these characters were so lush and immersive. The writing is beautiful and engaging. There are no slow parts in this book. Lies! I was captivated on every page. Elspeth was an amazing main character. She was strong, witty, and her banter with other characters was really funny. I thought she was really dry. Raven was elusive and interesting from the beginning. I loved him so much, and his relationship with Elspeth was developed perfectly. This did not feel YA to me at all, by the way. It definitely did. It definitely did. The star of the show was Nightmare. I loved the scary psycho-like monster so much, and I am not even sure if I am supposed to, but he was my favorite character. I like crazy and weird, and he really checks those boxes. Yeah. No, I don't think Elspeth was a great fleshed out character. I honestly don't. I feel like we didn't see enough of it. Like she wasn't strong either. Like Raven was always there to do something. And the nightmare saved her from so many things. Like if she was in a sticky situation, not thinking the situation through it all, Nightmare would have to save her. And I really don't like naive female characters. And she was so naive, and she was also just dry. And Raven was elusive, yes, and it gave this mysterious element to him, but we didn't see enough of him. I would have loved it if he had a point of view in this, because we would have got some insight on his side, and it probably would have been a little more interesting, because he is kind of hidden in plain sight. He has another role as well. So I just felt like it wasn't enough. It just wasn't enough in my opinion. And I've probably said enough. But with that all being said, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please remember, this is all only in my opinion. And if you like these books, I'm so happy for you. I really am, because I really tried. Hence why I reread them, to give myself another opportunity to like these books again, or some of these books. But I've learned my lesson. If I don't like a book, there's a reason why. And you have to emotionally connect to characters. And if you don't, I find it really hard to rate it highly. And like I said, the second time round, I DNF'd some of the books because it just still didn't do anything for me. And that's my own issues and not yours. But if you enjoyed it, like I said, I'm so happy that you had an experience that I didn't get to have. But with that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. Please remember, this was only for entertainment purposes only. If you haven't already, please remember to like and subscribe, and let me know if you want more of these types of videos, because I do have some more. I actually made a really long list, but some of the books are not really well-known books, so I haven't spoken about them. Again, with my favorites as well, my 5 stars reading 1-star reviews about them, I'd love to do another round of those, but please do let me know if you want to see that. Like I said, please like and subscribe and share this video if you haven't already. But with that being said, I shall see you all next week. Bye guys.